Under the burning Pacific sun, there's a place the world almost never speaks about. A place that doesn't appear in most travel vlogs, because almost no one ever goes there. Tuvalu, a country so small it barely makes a shadow on the world map. Yet it carries one of the biggest fears any nation could face: disappearing completely. Only a few thousand travelers set foot here each year, fewer than the number who visit the top of Mount Everest. And those who do describe it as both paradise and warning. Why would a country surrounded by crystal blue lagoons and palm trees be the least visited on Earth? And how can a nation vanish, even as its people still live, work, and dream upon it? By the end of this journey, you'll understand the truth behind Tuvalu's beauty and the quiet tragedy unfolding beneath its waves. If stories about the hidden corners of our planet fascinate you, stay with me till the end. This one might just change the way you look at the world. And before we begin, like and subscribe so you don't miss out on interesting facts about different parts of the world. Far out in the west-central Pacific Ocean, roughly halfway between Australia and Hawaii, lie 9 slender coral islands and atolls. This is Tuvalu. The total land area? A mere 26 square kilometers, less than 10 square miles. These islands are not mountainous or dramatic. Instead, they sit barely above the waves. The highest point in the entire country rises only about 4.6 meters above sea level. Picture walking on a narrow ribbon of coral sand, the Pacific breeze brushing your skin, the lagoon shimmering on one side, and the open ocean on the other, the salt tang in the air, the sound of gentle waves breaking on the reef rims, and beneath your feet, porous, alkaline soil that struggles to sustain more than a coconut or breadfruit tree. This is the physical stage on which Tuvalu's story unfolds: remote, fragile, beautiful, and constantly challenged. Tourism in Tuvalu remains extremely low. In 2023, the country recorded just over 3,100 visitor arrivals. Why? Remoteness, limited flight connections, small infrastructure, and no mass tourism resorts. Fragile environment. Land is narrow, vulnerable to tides, and lacks space for large hotels. Accessibility and cost. Reaching the atolls means long travel routes and fewer guarantees compared to more developed island destinations. Conscious choice. Tuvalu promotes cultural immersion and off-the-grid experiences, rather than conventional beach holidays. So the phrase, "the vanishing country no one visits," fits in 2 ways. First, hardly anyone goes there. Second, its very existence is under threat. For centuries, the islands of Tuvalu were known only to their own people, skilled navigators and voyagers who traveled between atolls by reading the stars and winds. Then came the outside world. European records show that Spanish explorer Álvaro de Mendaña de Neira first sighted the islands on January 16, 1568, naming one atoll Isla de Jesus. In 1892, the islands became a British protectorate, later part of the Gilbert and Ellice Islands colony. When independence came on October 1, 1978, Tuvalu emerged as one of the world's youngest sovereign states. Though small in landmass, Tuvalu has always punched above its weight. Its culture remains a living example of atoll life: thin soil, rich sea, and tight-knit communities. Its existence also carries legal and geopolitical importance. Though tiny in land area, Tuvalu controls a vast exclusive economic zone, and its voice in international diplomacy has grown steadily. In the main atoll of Funafuti, where more than half of Tuvalu's population lives, a single narrow road hugs the reef. On one side, the sea. On the other, the lagoon. The air is warm, the wind constant. Coconut palms whisper above, and children's laughter echoes across the water. Fishermen push their canoes into the dawn light. Women walk coral paths carrying baskets of breadfruit. Families gather under the stars for laughter and storytelling, their world illuminated by the ocean's reflection. Here, life still moves at a slower rhythm. Internet access is limited, and credit cards are rarely accepted. Almost all transactions are made in cash, often in Australian dollars. There are no ATMs on the outer islands, and even in Funafuti, banking access is minimal. It's a reminder that Tuvalu isn't just geographically isolated, it's also economically and digitally distant from the modern world. And yet, there's a nervous undercurrent. Homes perch just above high tide. Saltwater seeps into wells. A single storm can swallow a road, a garden, even a home. If this is paradise, it's one that constantly tests its people's resilience. What happens when a land this fragile meets a rising ocean? Recent assessments show that sea level in Tuvalu has risen nearly 15 centimeters, about 6 inches over the past 30 years. That's roughly 1.5 times the global average. At the tide gauge in Funafuti, the rise continues at about 5 millimeters per year. If this trend continues, much of the country's land and infrastructure could sit below average high tide by 2050, unless major adaptation efforts take place. The consequences are already visible. Saltwater intrusion makes freshwater wells unsafe to drink. Crops struggle to grow in the porous, alkaline, and salt-exposed soil. Storm surges and high tides flood roads, homes, and even the airport. And because Tuvalu has no higher ground, there's nowhere to retreat inland. Tuvalu still waits. There is only one international airport. Flights are few, and infrastructure remains modest. Tourism numbers stay in the low thousands. Yet, despite all this, Tuvalu has become a symbol of disappearing landscapes and of cultural survival. Its leaders have even spoken of creating a digital nation, preserving Tuvalu's identity and culture in virtual form, should the physical islands ever be lost. The story of Tuvalu matters because it's not just about one small country. It's about our shared future. Places like this are early warning systems for the planet. They remind us that even the smallest places matter. Nature's quietest corners can send the loudest warnings. Culture, identity, and land are deeply connected. When one fades, all suffer. So when you think of adventure, don't think only of peaks and continents. Think of places where the sea might rise and the land might vanish. Places that dare us to remember that we are all connected. Thank you for watching. If you found yourself drawn into this journey, share it. And maybe subscribe for more stories of hidden places and disappearing worlds.